Welcome to Lucha Rewatch. This is episode 4. We watched episodes 13 through 16 of Lucha Underground Season 1 before doing this. And ladies and gentlemen, things are starting to pick up a little bit. These 4 episodes, John, I would say were the Cage and Pentagon Jr. show.
Oh, abso-freaking-lutely. Those two guys, this is at the point of the first season where they really come into their own, particularly more so for Pentagon than for Cage, because Cage was already heating up a little bit before this. But yeah, these guys are really at the epicenter of this particular batch of episodes. I can't wait to get into it with you.
That's not all, though. This were also the one thing that I think all these episodes had in common was also Mariachi El Bronx, who because of Lucha Underground, I've become a huge fan of. They actually used to be. I shouldn't even say used to because they probably still do make this kind of music. But for the longest time, they were just a punk rock band. Like they were just making like straight up rockin' jamming music. And I guess one day they just one of the guys in the band just decided, hey man, I want to make a mariachi song, and they ended up making an entire mariachi album. I mean, they've actually done 3 albums as Mariachi El Bronx. Before they were just called The Bronx, and when they did the mariachi stuff, they called themselves Mariachi El Bronx. But man, it's some great stuff. I mean, to me, I think what I really like about it, what kind of attracted me to it, is that it has sort of a similar sound to ska, which is probably one of my top 2 or 3 favorite genres of music. And
Right.
yeah, like Mariachi El Bronx, I love their music. Obviously there's the definite mariachi vibe there, but it's also got a little hint of ska, got some sort of rock elements. I think it's really good music.
Well, I mean, with the introduction of Mariachi El Bronx at this particular batch of episodes, and then, we know other musical performances show up like throughout the season, but Mariachi El Bronx seems to be the most consistent. Again, for me, it's kind of like that ECW vibe because they would do music videos and whatever, and I love it. Again, it's just adding to the overall aesthetic that really sets itself apart from WWE because WWE, their idea of a musical act is
Machine Gun
Flowrider
Kelly.
and Machine Gun Kelly, which take up like a whole segment. With Lucha Underground, it's like Mariachi El Bronx. They'll do a little intro, which is fine because I think that sets a great tone. And then maybe like in the middle of the show, maybe you hear a little something, but it never gets obnoxious. You hear them play
I think
just a
what I
little
love the
bit.
most about the way that they use them is that it seems almost like Mariachi El Bronx are more there for the live crowd. Like they're there so that in between things happening in the ring, the live crowd gets some kind of entertainment.
Exactly, Ashton. Exactly. I think their utilization, to your point, is absolutely perfect because it's not too much for the television crowd, but
Yeah,
for the live audience, I think it's enough to satiate their boredom in between, whatever.
it's great
So it's
stuff, man. I
perfect.
love it. But
Yeah.
let's get into episode 13 because, as you all know, this is where we started for this episode of Lucha Rewatch. And we start things off after we get past the Mariachi El Bronx intro, which they actually tell us about them and kind of give us an introduction because I'm pretty sure this was actually the first time that they were on an episode of Lucha Underground, so it's actually well timed. But we get to the ring. Ivelisse and Son of Havoc are in the ring. Ivelisse opens up with a promo, just kind of addresses social media and people saying that Son of Havoc sucks and that kind of stuff. And then she says she doesn't date losers. So then we get Son of Havoc versus Angelico. And this match was obviously great. But the line that commentary used that I don't know if you caught or not, John, but I think was very, very sort of telling, foreshadow, whatever you want to call it. Stryker says, perhaps Angelico can ascend to greater heights.
I love the little teases on commentary because there were quite a few in this batch,
Yeah,
I think, and
there were
yeah,
at least 2 more.
yeah, absolutely. And like you said, not really much to say here. These guys had amazing chemistry. I love the teasing sequence at the end with Ivelisse on the apron and each guy trying to avoid, neither one of them wanted to hit her, obviously. But then the miscue between Son of Havoc and Ivelisse, Son of Havoc ends up getting caught because of it. So again, we see that Ivelisse has a hand, whether directly or indirectly, in Son of Havoc losing a match. And Angelico gets the win. So I think that's great storytelling there.
Absolutely. The fact that and John, we need to go back and I mean I know we already kind of did go back, but we need to go back just kind of analyze. Did Son of Havoc ever lose a match that wasn't directly or indirectly because of Ivelisse?
I don't think so.
I don't think he did either, which is insane because of how consistent they are with that.
Exactly. And again, I mean, you guys already know what's coming because you watched this season once before with us, and I've said that I feel like that makes Son of Havoc's ultimate breakup with Ivelisse all the more legitimate. And I just really loved how they told that story here. So this is a fun opening match, and I just love the narrative that it was furthering because even afterwards, when Son of Havoc's top priority was checking on Ivelisse, she wasn't having any of it, and she kind of chewed him out and she walked out. So this is where it really all begins, folks.
It's funny too because in episode 1, Son of Havoc won. He beat Sexy Star. In episode 2, he and Ivelisse were a team, and he lost that match when he was teaming up with Ivelisse. So you could say whether directly or indirectly, you could say that was Ivelisse's fault. Son of Havoc versus Mascarita Sagrada. I don't remember if Ivelisse was involved in this match at all, but Sagrada did win. So that was Son of Havoc losing. And then we had, I know for a fact that every match since then that Son of Havoc has lost was because of Ivelisse.
I can even tell you the Masquerade of Sagrada one, like him and her, they were kind of like having a little bit of an antagonism on the outside. He dived at one point and caught both of them. So
That's
she
right.
was like, yeah, part of the matchup and stuff.
Yeah. Mascarita was chasing her. I remember that.
Well, yeah, that was the whole Pimpinella Escarlata matchup afterwards because, the week after, Son of Havoc faces him. But then Masquerade Sagrada comes out at one point, and he chases Ivelisse, and that distracts Havoc so that Pimpinella caught him.
Yep.
So, yeah, Ivelisse
is Dude, oh my god, I love that so much. So, yeah, Son of Havoc won his only match before Ivelisse was introduced and has lost pretty much every match since then, either directly because of or indirectly because of Ivelisse's influence.
There you go.
That's great amazing stuff to me.
Yeah, great stuff.
And then, I mean, I know we haven't gotten there yet, but just a little spoiler for those of you that don't watch Lucha Underground and you're just watching this Lucha rewatch for a nice, succinct way to sum up the season. Next week, when we talk about episodes 17 through 20, I'm pretty sure that's going to involve the breakup where Son of Havoc gets up on the top rope and tells Ivelisse to consider herself dumped, and he wins that match.
Yeah.
How great is that?
Amazing. Just amazing.
Oh my god. So yeah, as you said, Angelico beats Son of Havoc, but then we get Johnny Mundo in Cueto's office. Cueto ends up setting up Mundo versus Cage, and Mundo tells Cueto that he better get a new title.
Yep, just telling, Cueto, because Cueto's all like, oh, I want to make peace. We haven't seen you since Aztec Warfare. You always have 5-star main events, so why don't we just start over? And to your point, Ashton, it's going to be you versus Cage. And I love Mundo because he's like, Cage, isn't that ham bone that destroyed your title belt? Cueto's just like, yeah. And then, like you said, he said, well, you better get a new one. Puts on shades. Oh, yeah. Johnny Mundo. Yeah. 90% athleticism. Actually, no, 100% athleticism and 100% badass. I love it.
Yeah, and I love, too, because Cueto, like you said, he mentioned here about how he loves Johnny's 5-star main events. And yet, Johnny wasn't even... Oh, yeah, he was. He was the main event of this show, but then for the next show I have in here, he was mid-card.
Yeah.
Oh, man. So up next, though, we had the first of many matches in a string of Pentagon Jr. just killing everyone versus Famous B this time. Before the match, we got a quick little Pentagon Jr. video package that just kind of set up how, if you fight, if you learn to embrace all these fighting styles, you can learn to fight with zero fear. And they just kind of set up basically his catchphrase for the season, which was Cero Miedo, which is zero fear.
Yeah, this is where Pentagon Jr. really begins his ascent
to
just amazingness. Because he was already a good in-ring performer, but this is where he really becomes a great character.
Yep.
And I love that Lucha Underground really illustrates that dichotomy with Pentagon Jr. Like you said, makes quick work of Famous B. Not really much to say here. Breaks the arm. And then I think, isn't it in the post-match promo that he lets everybody know about his master, or was that a pre-match promo?
Yeah, it was post-match, but then I also want to note, Vampiro talks about Pentagon Jr. having a transformation and how it seems like Pentagon was enjoying beating the crap out of Famous B.
Yeah, he wasn't the only one enjoying it, because as we noted in our first viewing on Lucha Underground reviews, the crowd really grows to love it too. Yeah. So, yeah.
But then, yes, Pentagon, after the match, pledges his loyalty to his master.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So up next, Cueto is actually, sitting on a chair in the prison cell room with Matanza, tells Matanza that Black Lotus was there looking for him. but that he couldn't give her the key because, and this kind of confused me. This kind of threw me for a loop to the point that I even had John pause the video so that we could talk about this because I just wasn't sure what was going on here. Cueto tells Matanza, I couldn't give her the key, but I have to protect the temple from Matanza. So, what exactly is going on here?
Yeah, because I think you and I had a discussion either on episode 3 of Rewatch
I'm
or
pretty sure it was
2.
3.
About like, is Matanza the name, or is it just because you did the Spanish translation, it comes out to slaughter? Is it just saying that whatever the creature's name is, whatever the creature is, period, causes slaughter, and maybe
Right.
Matanza was just a name? Because you know how legends sometimes they pass like oral tradition, it's always going to change, but one thing always stays consistent. Maybe that's the case with this monstrosity. So yeah, that is definitely very interesting, and considering how little we got, even at the end of the first season, it's definitely something to consider. So great stuff here, though. I loved how they built up Matanza in the first season. So much fun. So much fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, I'll tell you what, this whole thing, this Matanza, Black Lotus, Dario Cueto storyline is so interesting to me. Like, I've been reading up on theories on like whatever you want to call it, these people are, and I saw one that was really interesting. That was almost kind of theorizing that Cueto and Matanza might be vampires
Interesting.
because apparently there's another show on El Rey based on the movie from Dusk Till Dawn called Dusk Till Dawn that Cage was actually on the first episode of the second season about a week ago. And apparently that's a show about vampires, and they use like ancient Aztec temples as a front for their sacrifices. So, I mean, are they going to kind of interweave, like intertwine different shows into just like the El Rey universe where Cueto and Matanza are actually like Dusk Till Dawn vampires or something like that? I don't know.
Here's the thing, dude. I could certainly buy it with Matanza because, again, we saw him eat a man's face. And here's the thing, though. When he was feasting,
Was
I,
he
I
though? Was he eating the man's face, or was he just violently ripping his throat out?
maybe he was violently ripping the throat out. But here's where it gets interesting to me, though, because I think Dario Cueto got some of the blood on his face,
And
and you could see him smiling about it.
yeah,
So, like, he wasn't repulsed, and he always has had this love of violence. That's been the one really consistent trait of Dario Cueto.
yep.
And I'm
And
telling
then
you,
the closing shot of the first season, he's kind of floating almost.
yeah, and then just everything blackens, and I don't know, man. Look, if we can have these theories about Katrina, being with Mil Muertes, never really regard anybody as a human, especially
I
with Drago
feel
being
like
a
I need to
dragon.
try and figure out whether is it the El Rey network like just like a hybrid of what Spike should have been and Sci-Fi because like the Sci-Fi network has its own universe. Like there's like the Sci-Fi universe that kind of gets overlapped between certain shows sometimes. Like I remember I think there was an episode of Haven that featured characters from a different show on Sci-Fi. So like they kind of overlap every now and then. I'm just curious as to if that's going to be the deal with El Rey as well, because El Rey, I mean, say what you will about El Rey not being a super popular network because it only has so many million viewers in the U.S. or whatever. At the end of the day, El Rey has only been around for like a year and a half, maybe 2 years as a network. It's an extremely young network.
And I think what really works to Lucha Underground's benefit, before we move on to the next segment, is like obviously every show, whatever, has its own set of rules. Like you said, to use your terminology, it has its own universe, and a universe, has certain things that everybody's going to adhere to. But I think the universe is really capable in Lucha Underground to be stretched, and liberties can be taken. I mean, we have a dragon. I don't know what you would classify Aerostar as, but we saw like how he went home at the end of the first season. Katrina, obviously, we've talked at length about. So Cueto being a vampire is nowhere near the realm of impossibility to me. That is very viable. So I think anything that we can put on the table is worth examining, and that's just the beauty of Lucha Underground, is that you can take those kinds of artistic liberties and really create a show like that. So I'm just so excited.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Feel like we've we've strayed off the path quite a bit. So let's get back onto it. Let's talk about Drago versus Aerostar Part 1. These guys always put on fun matches. Drago won with his running blockbuster that he does. It's actually Honestly, I kind of hope that a certain somebody that just got recently signed to the WWE, their developmental system, gets to use that as their finisher.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, that running blockbuster is a sick looking maneuver.
You know who
L-
I'm talking about, right?
no.
Busick.
That'd be great. Yeah, he has a great look for that move too. I could totally
He
buy it.
uses it. That's one of his signature moves on the Indies.
Right. I hope he would be able to carry it over. Because the only other person I knew to really use the blockbuster in WWE would be Tyson Kidd, but as we all know, he's unfortunately out right now. So
Who
yeah,
else uses that running blockbuster? Yoshihashi. That's right.
yeah.
Man,
Uh,
that's a popular move, but it looks devastating, especially if the guy sells it right.
yeah, and Aerostar certainly did here.
And
Uh,
speaking of Drago and Aerostar, again, just taking one little tiny step off the path here. Did you hear what happened in the tag team match, the Lucha Underground tag team match that happened at PWG Bola?
no, what happened?
I believe it was Drago and Pentagon versus Aerostar and Phoenix. And when the match was over, the crowd loved it so much that they literally threw dollar bills into the ring.
Yeah, I did see that. I saw your posts on Pluitov about it. See, guys, that's why you should join Pluitov, an amazing pro wrestling group. But yeah, I saw that post. I thought that was so cool. Lucha Underground representing, baby. It was beautiful.
Absolutely, man. That's so exciting. So now we've got Drago and Aerostar going at it one on one, and Drago wins this first match. Obviously, later on, we're going to get more matches between these guys because for those of you that didn't watch the first season yet, first of all, you should. Second of all, if you don't have any means to do so, hashtag Netflix needs Lucha might help. And third of all, they end up having a best of 5 series in the long run. That's pretty much just great matches consistently. Up next, though, we had Katrina kind of steps to Phoenix in the locker room, tells him that she has a message for him, but it's not from Mill, it's from her, and then she proceeds to just slobbery make out with him.
Oh, it begins, guys. I think one of the best feuds. In fact, I'll even say, and I love Mundo and Prince Puma to death, but for me, this was the best feud of season one for me. And besides where it culminates, actually ended up on my match of the year list, as you guys all know, Grave Consequences. And it all started with this kiss from this succubus Katrina. Oh my God. I remember when you and I first watched this, dude, we were so weirded out. We were like, what's going on right now? Anxious aardvark levels were through the roof. And so, yeah, great segment. Continues to build on the allure of Katrina, and it leaves Phoenix in a very interesting place because we know he's a good guy, but it does leave open, like, how is he going to respond? And we do find that out later. So, this was a great segment.
Absolutely. Yeah, this was really good. This was really freaky. Like, you and I were losing our minds when we first saw this because we had no clue what was going on.
Right.
So,
So,
yeah, and then we got our main event of the evening, Johnny Mundo versus Cage. One of Johnny Mundo's 5-star main events, as always.
yeah, really enjoyed this match. I mean, great back and forth, great contrast in styles from Cage's just pure power, but I mean, he's got that athleticism to him, and then Johnny Mundo's just his parkour and things like that.
Oh,
Of course, the big story here is King Cuerno's interference at the end, and I want to thank commentary too, because even on the second viewing, I was kind of scratching my head and asking, well, I wonder why King Cuerno is attacking Mundo to begin with, but of course they remind me that Mundo eliminated Cuerno in Aztec Warfare.
yep.
So Cuerno, he's got that gripe. So I really like that. And again, commentary proven to be so useful. You see, WWE, it is possible. But yeah, Cuerno.
Dude, if you seriously can't figure out whether commentary is useful or not, just watch any promotion other than WWE and TNA, and you'll find out that it's very useful.
Exactly. Well said. So Cuerno, comes out. He pretty much puts the boots to Johnny, including like taking him to the ring post and hitting his knee with a steel
With a
chair.
chair, dude. I thought, like, when we saw that, I was like trying to rack my brain, like, did he have like a limp going forward, or because like that's huge. Like that should have had more long lasting effects, don't you think?
Oh, certainly. And I remember our first time viewing this, I was kind of seething afterwards. I mean, actually, the first time, because when the ref throws it out and it says Mundo won by disqualification, first words out of my mouth were, yes, still undefeated. But then Cueto. He
Yeah,
comes out and he's like,
Cueto's like, hey guys, we know that this match deserves a finish, so we're gonna give it a finish.
well,
Restart the clock.
you would Lee sounded nicer about it when Cueto actually says, "Oh, Johnny, since you and I are friends again, I'm not going to have your 5-star main events go down that way, so I'm having this match restarted." You dick. So then he does, putting Mundo's pristine record in jeopardy. But I will say this, getting back to a serious side, because you guys know I love having fun, and Johnny Mundo's my boy, but I really did love the final few minutes of this match. I thought they made Johnny Mundo look like such a valiant babyface trying to fight with the bad wheel, and they had some great spots too where they manipulated that. My favorite sequence was when he was trying to kick Cage, but Cage moves out of the way at one point, and Mundo's bad leg hits the ring post, and then Cage immediately capitalizes on that, and he gets the stretch muffler in the ring. I actually thought the match was going to end there, which made it all the better when Mundo was able to fight out. Countered Weapon X the first time into a Yoshi Tonic, so he fought to the bitter end, but then he gets hit with that discus lariat, and his lights are out. Then he gets hit with Weapon X, and Cage gets the win, but they really went out of their way to protect Johnny Mundo here.
Yeah, they did. They did a great job. I mean, he even hit Moonlight Drive. He went for the end of the world. Like he stayed in this.
Yeah, yeah.
Until Cage went full Bork mode on his ass.
Yeah, it happens. I mean, because he's not a man, he's a machine.
Dude,
so.
he literally went Bork mode. He hit an F5 for God's sakes. Like
yeah. I mean,
and it was a brutal looking F5 too. Johnny face planted.
He did. I don't like reliving the agony because it's a bit stressful. But I mean, let's all remember, folks, that we have Dario Cueto to blame. But yeah, that was the end of the match. But great matchup. Do you have anything else you want to say about it, Ashton?
I just really enjoyed the match, and it's funny because these 4 episodes, if you would just watch these 4 episodes of Lucha Underground, you would think, my God, Cage is the best performer in this freaking company.
Yeah.
Because he just consistently, just over and over again, put on these amazing, intense matches where he basically got to play the role of Brock Lesnar.
That's how, I loved his booking. That's how I feel like when you look like Cage, you should be booked that way. And I feel like that's starting to make a comeback between Cage and Lucha Underground. Now we see Braun Strowman in WWE. He's been looking dominant. I'm hoping that this type of performer is really making a comeback, not named Brock Lesnar, because they're so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
So much fun.
That's kind of like my favorite archetype. Like just that big, scary mofo that sells next to nothing, gets these crazy big impact moves, and just kills everyone.
And I mean, I don't mean this to be insulting when I say this, but like, how easy does that job sound too? Like, if you're that type of performer, it's just like, okay, I have to take a few right hands, not sell it, then I dominate.
Yeah, like, it's funny too because people were even saying like, oh, this Braun Strowman guy, he's big and scary looking, but how good is he as a wrestler? And I'm just like, dude, what do you think? Do you expect him to do a 450? Like,
yeah,
he literally just needs to show up, not sell, do power moves, and look scary.
Exactly. And I think if you have a mythos like he's starting to build, and like, Cage, I love the vignettes. I love the kind of story that we're telling with him. And I'll even have more to say about that as we get into later episodes. As long as you have a certain allure about you, I think that more than compensates for any kind of dearth of in-ring ability. And the thing is, Cage doesn't even have that problem. Cage is a freak in there. So Cage has got, and it's funny, we were just talking about the Wyatt family because I was just getting ready to say Cage has the whole world in his hands. He's just so good.
Yeah.
Great stuff.
Absolutely. So now we get the post-credits scene, and of course, it's Alberto El Patron. So not only, it's funny because if you look at the first 12 episodes of this season, it's like an entirely different season than what we started with here. Because here we get Cage dominating everyone, Cuerno is really on the forefront, Mundo and Puma are both still around, but they've both been marginalized a little bit. And now Patron shows up, and this kind of becomes the El Patron Tejano show for the next episode.
And I told you, because I mean, it's funny, because I finally had like a moment where I finally catch something, because everybody knows I don't take physical notes, but I told you, I thought it was hilarious that in a match where Mundo loses and he's looking like in a pitiful state because he just got beaten down, of course it's preceded by an Alberto El Patron segment. I thought that was so funny, given what those two are going to do, later in the season and where it all culminates at Ultima Lucha. I thought that was very clever. I'd ask if it was intentional, but knowing that it's Lucha Underground and how cerebral they are with their storytelling, I would totally bet that it was. Because they just love putting those little teasers and everything and really making you think, especially with us going and watching the second time around. So, really cool. And I gotta say, for as much as I hate Patron, I loved how he introduced himself because Cueto's like, "Oh no, the show's over. Oh no, no, the show is just beginning because I'm Alberto El Patron, but you
You
already
already
knew
knew
that."
that. Wink.
Great stuff, man.
All right, so then we get to episode 14, and we pick up right where we left off. Alberto in Cueto's office. Cueto tells Alberto that he likes him. Alberto brings up Cueto's key. I thought that was interesting, but then Cueto just kind of no-sells it and asks him why he's here.
And, Patron says, he's been hearing all the buzz about Lucha Underground, and he promises violence, more or less. He's not going to be able to commit it tonight because what he's given, tonight is an open platform to address the people because these are his people and they really have been for the remainder of this season. I can't deny that. In all seriousness, I mean, Patron is so beloved and he really made such a great babyface.
Hey, man, you know what they say? If you can't beat them, join them. And in this case, if
Exactly.
you can't join them, beat them.
There you go.
Johnny
There you
Mundo
go.
couldn't join Alberto in the fanfare, so he beat him.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. I can't wait to revel in that again when we actually get to the appropriate episodes to do it. But yeah, this is a good introduction to Patron and leads to a lot of intrigue. So,
Absolutely. All right, so now, first match of the night, Argenis versus Phoenix. And really, this whole thing is just kind of using the presence of Phoenix to set up the Katrina angle.
Right. Because she does appear at one point, and she's just kind of watching everything with Phoenix, and it's a great back and forth matchup between these two. I honestly, and I don't mean this offensively, because I know what Argenis would go on to do, but as Argenis, as this particular character, I forgot how good he was in the ring.
Yeah.
Because we don't really see him much, like put on an exhibition match of this caliber after this.
Yeah, he's really. I've always, I mean, since the first day that we saw him, I've compared him to Hunico, aka the new Sin Cara.
Right.
He's like his in-ring style reminds me of that.
Which is so funny because, correct me if I'm wrong, but Argenis is the brother of the actual, former original Sin Cara, right? Mystico, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Or no, wait. Wait.
Argenis, I mean, isn't he the brother of Mystico?
I don't. I think. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I don't know why. I'm not sure though.
Yeah, because I thought you were the one that originally brought that up to me. They share some kind of blood relation, but my point is.
Yeah. You know what I was thinking? Pentagon and Phoenix are also brothers.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh my God, the web right now. But I can't get tangled up in that. My point is, I just thought it was funny that you said that because it made me think of the actual blood relation. And yeah, so great back and forth between these two. Ultimately, though, Phoenix gets the win after his pile driver because Argenis tried going for a tombstone. Phoenix reversed the leverage, and then he drove Argenis down. And then Katrina comes in. She gives the lick of death to Argenis, and Phoenix is just freaked out. Like, the hell is this?
Yeah, he's
out.
out.
Gets the hell out of there. So, great stuff here.
Absolutely. All right, so now we get to Katrina in the back. She's in the back now with Mil Muertes, and she tells him that the power of 1,000 lives is valuable, and it was the power that was too much for you. You need to. And then Bill grabs her by the throat.
I love this.
And dude, Mill is just. I know that we were freaking out when he first said this because it was his first words. He goes, "I need nothing," and he freaks out. And then he starts walking down the hall, crosses paths with Chavo. Chavo acts like he's going to turn around and then goes to swing at Mill. Mill catches him by the wrist and just stifles him, man. Just puts him down.
I've never seen Chavo look like such a little bitch. It was great. It's like, I'm going to defend myself. It kind of reminds me of my favorite scene from Halloween 4. This guy sees that Michael Myers is, like, scraping his car, and he's one of those douchebag characters that cares more about his car than his girlfriend. So he's like, what's going on? And then he goes out, he's thinking he's going to do something. He's like, all right, asshole, you want to play? Trick? Or... And then he gets grabbed by the throat, and then Michael Myers just takes this rake, and he just plunges it in his face. It's amazing. That's what Mil Muertes reminds me of. Just this guy like, okay, Okay, one shot. I'm not even going to promise that you're going to connect, but you get one shot because then it's over. Chavo took his, and it didn't end well for him. So that's what happens.
Yeah, that's what happens when you're Chavo Guerrero.
What a punk.
Always second best.
At everything. But yeah, I mean, I love this, man. I wanted to comment very quickly on the Mil Muertes Katrina portion. I
Right.
thought this was so well done. Between like the atmosphere, how Katrina carried herself because she wasn't weak. Well, like she really did try to reason with Mil because they are this team, this unit. Mil reacts accordingly. He doesn't like his power questioned. He doesn't like his ability questioned. But I never felt like it got hammy, and I felt like they made Mil speak the perfect amount. Everything about this was great. I loved it.
What I really love about this whole angle too is that we know Katrina wants Mil dead, but she doesn't want him dead because she hates him and she wants him to never be around or not exist anymore or anything like that. She wants him dead so that she can frickin' revive him.
And Ashton, here's the thing. We would find out later, of course, that was her plan, to your point. And considering how well it worked,
Yeah.
she's the most intelligent person in Lucha Underground to me.
She's the most powerful person in Lucha Underground, I think.
Yeah. I mean, it's because I know it's funny because they would always divert our attention and be like, oh, look how great Conan is. What a great strategist, quotes Art of War. No, Katrina doesn't need to quote shit.
Yeah.
Right?
She has all the quotes up in her head, rattling around, giving her the information that she needs to plan out the perfect way to literally get a monopoly on all the gold by the end of the season.
I know, it's like I was with Conan, because we would watch certain vignettes, and there was one in particular that we'll get to during the rewatch, probably around, I would guess, maybe episode 6 or 7 or whatever, where it's like, oh, he really is playing chess while everybody else is playing checkers. No, Katrina's playing a whole nother game entirely. She's
Dude,
like,
I know this is really, really corny, a really like terrible joke that I shouldn't be saying, but I have to. This is like a freaking game of Yu-Gi-Oh, right? But
yeah.
the opponent, you put out a weak monster in attack mode, and the opponent kills it, and it's like, oh man, you made a mistake. When that monster gets sent to the graveyard, I get to summon this thing, and it's a monster's beefy thing, and then it's like, and guess what? When this monster's active on the field, it allows me to summon these 3 things as well. And Katrina's just playing it all out, man.
I love it, and to kind of build on your reference, because I too am a nerd and I love it. It's like she set up this weaker Mil Muertes, Phoenix attacks, and he just unleashed the crush card virus on the entire roster, because nobody was safe after this. Her grip just spread as soon as her plan was executed.
Oh,
I
wish I
love
knew
it.
what the crush card virus was.
Don't you remember when Kaiba used to do that? He used to do
No.
shrink on a monster, and then it would have
No.
500 attack points, and then wow. No, because it would, and then the thing is, the whole crush card virus, it would infect an entire deck with attack points of 2,000 attack points or more, so that the opponent could only use weak monsters. Really,
well, that's not right then. It's not like it weakened Puma. It's just made Mil an unstoppable monster.
Didn't it though? Once he took out Conan, Puma finally lost.
Well, yeah, but what? Okay, we're definitely
we're at an impasse here. But my point is that they're dominating, and Katrina is the smartest woman and the most powerful woman, to your point, in Lucha Underground. So
she is. That's what it really comes down to.
All right. So what came after this, man?
Son of Havoc dedicating his next match to the baddest bitch in the building and the love of his life, Ivelisse.
And wasn't this against Johnny Mundo?
Hey, you're damn right it was.
Damn right, baby. And here's the thing.
Say my name, Johnny Mundo. You're goddamn right.
So good. I love him so much. But you know what, though? I love this match because not only did they make Son of Havoc hang in there with Johnny Mundo,
but he had
the freaking match won. Yeah.
He did. Freaking Ivelisse, man.
Again, Ivelisse, because she's like, go, do it, fit it. And let's bitch, what the hell do you think I'm doing? I'm on the top rope. Just give it 2 seconds, and I have the match one. And then, of course, Havoc takes so much time bickering with Ivelisse that Mundo's able to get his knees up. But it was such a perfect setting, too, because Havoc had him dead to rights, because the whole setup is, oh, I'm Johnny Mundo. I'm going to go for a Hurricane Rana off the top rope. And I knew he shouldn't have. That's why you should listen to me more and respond to my letters every once in a while.
Dude, you should be Johnny Mundo's manager.
I know. We would have totally won the championship by now. Not saying he's not perfect already, but with me, he could just be a little bit better. But, in all seriousness...
Are you saying that he could be better than perfect?
Oh my god, don't do the laugh, otherwise fuck. Alright. Point is, Havoc hangs on to the rope, so you know, like, they make it crystal clear. Havoc had this match won. No ambiguity about it.
Yep.
And freaking Ivelisse is the cause that he loses.
Yep.
I freaking love this. I mean, of course I love it because Johnny Mundo won and I laughed at everyone else.
That's just a natural repercussion.
But from an objective viewpoint and from the story that they're trying to tell here,
Son of Havoc is probably the most interesting character on the roster at this point.
Oh my god, dude. Yes. Yes. And I'm going to stop, talking there. Otherwise, I might say a little bit too much and go on another one of my tangents. But yeah, this is a great matchup. Loved how they made Havoc look here. And yeah, Ivelisse may get all pissy, but she screwed him out of this one. This is great.
But it doesn't end here because Cuerno comes out and destroys Johnny Mundo after the match.
He does.
Did we mention that Cuerno cost Johnny Mundo the match against Cage? I feel like we did.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
We did.
Yeah.
So yeah, he pretty much lays Mundo out, and so it's hard for my feelings. It's okay though. It's okay. I'm watching this the second time around. No way I could be as affected by it as the first time when I cried alone that night. But again, this isn't about me.
That thrill of the hunt, though.
Yeah. We can talk about how good that was. That was pretty devastating. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you're kind of underplaying everything, so I feel like we should just move on.
Well, yeah, he really beat them down, but it was a great setup for their matchup because when we get to later episodes, man, did this feud really intensify.
Best Cage match in the last decade.
Dude, how many times have you watched that Cage match? I wanted to ask you that too because I know this.
Me personally, probably 3 or 4.
Okay, yeah, because I knew this was gonna. I knew there was no way, and this is gonna be like my 3rd time watching it because I did go back and I watched it and I loved it, but you really raved over that match. It's just so weird because I'm the Mundo mark, but you were always the Cuerno mark, so maybe it works out. But yeah, they do magic together, guys. I can't.
And maybe now that you have a more of an appreciation for Cuerno, you'll like it more too.
Yeah, definitely. Again, guys, these guys put on magic together. This is a great beatdown.
Because that's the thing. I didn't need anything to click for me to love Johnny Mundo. I already knew what I was getting with him.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, you needed something to kind of click for you with Cuerno.
It's just, yeah, these guys were perfect opponents for each other in my mind, and I love it.
And again, I want to point out that I love that last week, Cueto was just like, oh, Johnny, I loved your 5-star matches. Your 5-star main events is what he said. And now he's the second match.
Cueto's a dick, man. He's a dick.
I love it so much. Speaking of matches, though, our next match is Ricky Mandel versus Pentagon Jr., and I just want to say I love Vampiro because he did a little bit here where he was talking about Ricky Mandel, but he was citing all of Ricky Martel's accomplishments.
Vampiro's great, and I hate to correct you on these reviews, partner, but this was no match. This was an ass whooping. Pentagon beat that ass, man. I don't even think, did Ricky Mandel even get any offense?
I want to say no.
Yeah, it was pretty hopeless. Packaged pile driver and then just done. Breaks the arm, done. And then again he says, I do this for you, master, because I have zero fear, and the crowd loves it. I remember when we watched this the first time when we did our Twitwell reviews, how I don't know if perplexed or scared or whatever the word is, this crowd loved the violence, and we were just like, okay, bunch of sadists.
Yeah, dude, it's a little bit uncomfortable in hindsight, isn't it?
It's like, break that arm, break it, yeah! And it's like, oh my god, I'm so scared.
I mean, that's definitely how we were too when we were watching it for the first time.
I mean, we're at least well documented. I thought maybe we were a part of a really sick, twisted minority, but now knowing that there's 4 of us, it becomes a bit more concerning.
I love, though, too, that after the match, Vampiro talked about Pentagon referring to a master. Stryker made the comparison to a Sith Lord.
Yes.
And that's what we were all saying Vampiro looked like in that last shot where Pentagon was like, where do we go now, master? And he was like, somewhere dark.
All the little hints, man. All the little hints. Crazy.
Pentagon has Ricky beat, but then he pulls his head up off the mat and he does that no kind of thing. And then he locks the submission in, Ricky taps, and Pentagon breaks the arm.
What a man's willing to do for friendship.
It's all about companionship, man.
Maybe Ricky Mandel rejected Pentagon's Facebook friend request. I don't know. He just...
How dare you, Ricky?
How dare you ignore my feelings? They're legitimate. Oh, God, no. And then just breaks the arm. Good
Oh
God.
my god. What is wrong with us? Anyway, so we got a post-match promo from Pentagon. He talked about how he's given this sacrifice for his master.
Yeah.
And Vampiro translates what Pentagon said, but he also explained that Pentagon was asking for acceptance. And I think that's worth noting because we've been kind of saying that all along, that all Pentagon wants is to be accepted by someone.
And it's so crazy how much that clicked for you and I in the rewatch because we never
Yeah,
really made that kind of commentary the first time viewing.
yeah.
Just a really great emotional
For
story.
season 2, we really need to pay more attention to character motivation because that's been like the main thing this season.
And I know, like,
Learning.
he is terrifying, and I would be fearful that he'd break my arm, but I still want to give him a hug. I'm like, it's okay, we love you. It's all right. Just so scarring. Oh man! All right, so what
It's
came after
great.
this,
Well, you know
Smith?
what else is great though, John, is that
Yeah,
assuming Lucha comes back in January rather than what we were planning on doing for October, um, we're not going to have any kind of long break like we did last season. Because last season there was like a two weeks that we didn't get any Lucha at all because of Christmas and then New Year's, right?
right.
Well, that's not going to be necessary anymore because it's going to be January to, I mean, I'm assuming like September, October.
Right. Yeah,
You
it's
know?
gonna be crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, that's gonna be amazing. But let's get back to the actual show. We closed this episode with Alberto El Patron's open mic time, and he talked about conquering the USA, winning every title, every major title in North America, and then he wanted to come to Lucha Underground because they weren't held back based on the color of their skin. And then of course Tejano comes out and beats El Patron down. And this was really just a really good way to debut Tejano because it's like they knew they had Tejano on their roster. They wanted to use him, but what better way to debut him than to make it look like he followed Alberto El Patron all the way from AAA?
Yeah, I love that. I love that, in this case they did use AAA material to kind of, supplement the debut here. As far as Patron's promo, you hit all the points, Ashton. I love that he was pretty much dressing down WWE without explicitly saying WWE.
Yeah.
That's how you cut a promo like
I
this.
love that, and I think you might have even mentioned this. I love that anytime they want to reference WWE, they just call it America.
Yeah,
Like he conquered the USA, aka he conquered the WWE.
exactly. And it's smart though, because I
It
mean it's not like
is.
they're lying,
Well, and they're in the USA too.
Exactly.
They're in
So it
California.
So it's a perfect, set of circumstances that Patron has to work with. And yeah, Tejano's debut, I mean, really in hindsight, looking at Tejano, the early debut in the early weeks of him being on Lucha Underground, it really clicked for me. I really like him as a heel, and I thought this was a good beat down here. So this is a great segment to close this episode out.
Yeah, absolutely. Then we get to episode 15. We start things off with Mil Muertes by himself, I might add, versus Chavo Guerrero.
Oh, Chavo. But
And
see, here's what we're going to say, Ashton?
no, you go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, it is interesting, though, because I say, oh, Chavo, but Mill did struggle in this match. And again, this is where I love commentary because even commentary noted, well, hey, Mill's not running roughshod over Chavo like we thought he would. He's not making quick work. Hell, at that point when they were even discussing it, Chavo was working over Mil Muertes' leg, chopping down the redwood.
Oh.
And Vampiro made the point, yeah, he just seems incomplete out there without Katrina at ringside. So I just wanted to make that point, Ashton. Now, what were we going to say?
I was just going to say that Katrina, even though she didn't come out with Mill, she did end up coming down to the ring.
Yes.
And Mill was just like hypnotized by her, man, like just staring at her. And Chavo ended up hitting him in the back of the chair, but all it did was piss him off.
Yeah, he just turns around and he's like, really? Come on, Chavo. You should know better than that. And he takes him out with like a right hand, and I think he does the flatliner
onto the chair.
Yeah, so Chavo's done.
And then he demands that Katrina does the lick of death. And she starts to leave and he grabs her by the hair and basically tries to force her to do the lick of death, but she refuses. She just kind of lets him push her head wherever he wants to, but then she doesn't do anything. She just kind of chills and waits for him to let go.
And I love that too, because it's such a great image I think they're setting up in the ring action, because when you see a guy, especially a guy that looks like Mil Muertes, being that forceful with a woman like Katrina, the natural impulse is discomfort.
Right.
But she has got this calm over her face that I think completely offsets that tone. And then you just kind of have to ask, well, what's really going on here?
Yeah.
And you realize that it is a power play.
She knew that Phoenix was going to come out and save her.
Exactly. So your natural impulse is to think, oh, that poor woman, somebody help her. But when you see Katrina pretty much no-selling it, for lack of a better term,
Yep.
and just being like biding her time, you're like, well, who really is holding the gun here? Is the
And that
question.
would be Katrina.
Exactly. And
And then, I mean,
yeah.
like I said, he had to come out and save her, but that's just because Mill grabs her by the throat and sets up for a flatliner on the chair, for God's sakes.
Right, and then Phoenix, I think he does like a springboard drop kick to break up that hold,
Yeah.
and then he escapes with Katrina, and then Katrina, making sure that Mill's watching,
Yep.
kisses Phoenix.
Pretty passionately, too.
Yeah, like, damn.
Yeah, well, and that's one thing that we actually totally caught on to in the first watching of the season, was that Phoenix never really seemed like he was doing anything because he wanted to. Everything that he was doing in this storyline always felt like it was either because Katrina wanted or because he felt obligated.
Right. And, it's just crazy how much control she had over this whole situation and just the mind game she was playing with really both guys, but ultimately Phoenix, because Phoenix was the means and a stronger Mil Muertes was the ends. But, it just shows you this whole story really illustrated to me by the end of the first season just how lethal Katrina is when she puts her mind to it.
Yeah.
So great stuff.
She's very, very smart, very powerful.
Certainly.
Up next, Black Lotus picks a lock and walks up some stairs, and that's the last we see of her until later on in the episode.
Yep, nothing more to say there.
The crew in Cueto's office. This was the kind of the super slimy scene where we see Cueto talking about how Sexy Star, Pimpinella Escarlata, and Mascarita Sagrada are freaks, and he doesn't want them in his temple, and he wants the crew to run them out of it. That their only job is to hurt them so bad that they never come back, and it's no DQ. So, yeah, this was kind of the first scene of the season where we really see just how much of a sleazeball Cueto can be.
Yeah, just giving him a good payoff, saying, look, these freaks are in my temple, they don't deserve to be there, take care of it. And that, of course, sets up, for the main event later, which was really well done, but we'll get to that when we get to it. So, nothing more to say there.
Absolutely. Up next, Ivelisse says that Son of Havoc was supposed to have his rematch with Angelico tonight, but she thinks it's best that she fight Son of Havoc's battles for him.
This was so good.
And she ended up in that match with Angelico, but it's worth noting the only reason she won... Go ahead, John.
The only reason she won was because Son of Havoc got involved.
Yep.
I think it was a kick to Angelico's head or something, and then Ivelisse just caught him, and she stacked him up and she pinned him. So here's pretty much how it breaks down, guys. Ivelisse cost Son of Havoc matches. Son of Havoc makes Ivelisse win matches. So we see what the relationship really looks like here. It's clear as day.
So
yeah.
Basically what it breaks down to is Son of Havoc really, really needs to shed this weight.
Yeah.
Because as great as Ivelisse is in her own right, she's costing Son of Havoc matches, and even when she gets into matches, she needs his help to win.
Exactly.
So really what it comes down to is she is just like a major, major heel, and he is a baby face needing to break away from the heel.
Exactly.
Like the only reason that he helped her win this match is because, I mean, he's her boyfriend, and obviously, he wants her to succeed. So
right.
Helped her win the match. And I mean, we even broke it down when we watched this that basically if the roles would have been reversed, it would have been pretty much the same situation. If Ivelisse at some point ever would have actually managed to help Son of Havoc win a match rather than costing him all of his matches, it would have been a good thing because it would have been great heel heat. But no, she always cost him his matches, and now he helps her win one.
Exactly. And Angelico did great work here, too.
Yeah.
Love the personality he showed.
He ends up playing such a sleazeball in this whole series. I love it.
Yeah, he does, because he's just constantly, hitting on her and, putting the moves on her. And it even comes to a point where even after the match, he ain't even mad. He's just like, hey, he believes if you ever want to do this again without your boyfriend around, it would be my pleasure. And then he shoves Son of Havoc off the apron.
Yeah.
Oh, man, what a bully Angelico was in this thing. But I loved it, man. It was great.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Up next, though, Vampiro sit-down interview. I love these things. With Tejano. Really, he says that Patron stole his title. He didn't win it. He just stole it from him. And that the only reason he's here is to destroy El Patron and take back what's his.
I love it. It's short, sweet, to the point, and Tejano just oozes that natural arrogance. I think I would have appreciated this more, to be fair, had I had a deeper connection with AAA, because, they really, again, relied on that history that Tejano was just this really long-reigning AAA champion, one of the best ever until Patron came along. So if you're familiar with AAA, you probably love this promo a lot more, but I still think when you're just looking at a heel trying to get heat and establish a motive, it was effective for me. So good stuff.
Yeah, AAA is definitely not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I would agree with you there.
I don't know if you actually saw Triple Mania or not, but it was kind of disastrous.
Yeah, I think you telling me that kind of put me off to it. So.
Oh man! So up next, we actually got Tejano's first match in Lucha Underground versus Superfly, and man, I mean, not even really any foreshadowing or anything heavy like that. Just how ironic is it that by the end of the season, these guys would be in completely reversed roles: Tejano a babyface and Superfly a heel.
I know, right? How crazy is that? And Tejano, his finisher was even different early on because he wins this match with a neck breaker.
Yep.
But I mean, later on, of course, he would use the sit out power bomb. But good, quick matchup to again really establish Tejano, let him have his footing in Lucha Underground, and let him gain that presence. And nothing really more to say there because until Superfly does kind of undergo that whole transformation that you noted in alignment, he just really just puts on matches like this. This is the norm for Superfly. So
he was the low man on the totem pole for the longest time.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, it was really like he was in that El Mariachi Loco kind of tier.
Exactly.
All right, so I believe El Patron showed up, and he and Tejano had quite the brawl after this match too, didn't they?
Yeah, but if I'm not mistaken, didn't Tejano leave the ring? And of course, this is where my gripe comes in because then Patron
no, this was actually the one where you were freaking out because Patron actually didn't get blocked by the rope barrier.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
he went under the ropes.
Yeah, okay.
And went after Tejano.
I'm like, oh man, he realizes that the ropes aren't a legitimate barrier, and yeah, I remember freaking out. That was great. So yeah, I loved how they furthered the feud, and I really enjoyed their blow-off match. So I'll be excited to rewatch that again because I remember that being quite good. So yeah. Good stuff here from these two guys.
I have a theory, John.
Yeah.
You're allowed one a year where you can go underneath or through or whatever the ropes to get after someone to try and chase someone, right? But other than that, they are a barrier that can only be broken by high impact, which is why suicide dives are a thing.
Ah, interesting theory, my friend. Interesting.
This applies to WWE as well.
You know what, though? That just shows you that the animosity between Tejano and Patron is so real then, because Patron used his once a year on Tejano to whoop that ass. So
yeah.
There you go.
That's why Randy Orton, whenever he gets stuck in the rope barrier, always looks so angry, because he doesn't do suicide dives, so it's not an option.
I'm not talented enough, even though I'm totally talented. It's such a conflict.
Yeah, dude, and that's the crazy thing, too. Orton started his career as a high flyer. Like, he was doing freaking top rope, missile drop kicks and freaking crossbodies and stuff, and then someone higher up in WWE management came up to him, pulled him aside, and they were like, listen, Randy, you're way too good to be doing this shit. You're gonna hurt yourself. Stick to the kicks and punches. Maybe throw in a backbreaker and a power slam now and then. You'll get over it. You'll be fine.
You sound like the perfect agent. You should be working for those guys. Because I can just picture you pulling some young guys. I'd be like, look, see that asshole? He has to do dives because that's the only way he can get over. You actually have personality. Come talk to me, kid. We'll get you a world title in 6 months. Come on. Just get that done.
Yes. Twit while recruiting services.
Yeah, do it if you want to get over. Do it.
Oh my god.
I get too into these things. I spit on my mic.
Up next, Cage confronts Dario Cueto, and this was the scene where he was demanding, make me the champion. I have the title. I should be champion. And Cueto was just like, look, man, you're my favorite, okay? If I could, I would totally make you champion, but I don't have that power, even though he runs the place. So he gives him a non-title match against Puma the following week. If he wins, he gets the title shot. And then this is also the scene where Chavo just kind of casually walks in and quits.
Ashton, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill here, but I did notice your comment, even though he runs the place, I'm wondering if he does, though. Because like he
Oh.
looked at that destroyed championship and he said the gods aren't going to be happy with this. Maybe even Cueto answers to a higher power.
Oh, man. See, this is why season 2 needs to happen.
See, because like I
Because
don't
that's
know,
the
man.
kind of thing that I don't even want to speculate on that.
I know. I like I said, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. I had to contend your little comment there
You
because
don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. Dude, you're making a god out of an offhanded comment.
well, I'm just saying, man. Like I don't know if Cueto has as much power as we'd like to believe that he does. Just putting that out there. But yeah, then Chavo comes in and is like, you tell Mexico they got what they wanted. My feelings are hurt. I'm going back to my family.
Maybe
You
that's
know,
why he gets so into it when he's like, ring the bell! Because that's the only thing that he's allowed to do.
I know, right? It's like the
Like,
gods are
that's
like,
the extent of his power, is just yelling at the timekeeper to do stuff.
it's like Cueto, we will give you the chance to just say this one line whenever you like, whenever you feel it. What about this Red Bull figurine? Can I have this?
No, an
Fine.
ambassador from Spain gave that to him to remind him that he always takes the bull by the balls.
I know, but I mean, God knows how influential these gods in Lucha Underground are. Maybe they set up that meeting in the first place. I don't freaking know what
You
this
don't
shit
even
is,
have
man.
proof that there are gods. He might just be a superstitious person.
Look, maybe, but dude, we got freaking dragons in this universe. Who are you to tell me that my agnosticism is incorrect? But, I don't know, but yeah, Chavo quits like a punk, and Cueto's like, well, I wish you well in your future endeavors. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right, Cueto. Pour all the salt in that wound.
And then Chavo's just like, wait, what? Like, he was expecting Cueto to put up a fight, and then Cueto's just like, my doors are always open.
He was probably just thinking, dude, you're Kerwin White. That's the definition of expendable. And so
He's
yeah,
not
that's
Kerwin White, though. He's Chavo Guerrero.
oh, he's a jobber regardless. Same
Wow.
jobber, different name. Even though I do
Wow.
agree with our one commenter, I want to say it was Caltag Star, but it may not have been in our past Lucha Underground Rewatch episode 3 that this really was some of the best work in Chavo's career period, at
Oh,
least for
yeah.
as long as I've been watching.
Yep.
So good stuff. I'm just an asshole. That's what that really comes down to. So there you go.
Okay. I mean, I won't argue with that.
There you go.
Up next, we had Angela Fong, or Black Lotus, my mistake. This is the scene where she actually finds Matanza, and she says, so this is where he keeps you. When I was a little girl, the only thing I wanted to be when I grow up was to be the woman who killed you with my bare hands. And cue bag over the head, cue abduction, cue what is this? I don't even know.
Yeah, she got a little too close, but
She got too close to the fire, and she got burned.
oh snap! But yeah, I really can't. I can't add anything to that. This was great though. I love just from this first season. If that sets any kind of a precedent, I love how Lucha Underground writes their women. From Sexy Star with her whole story, all the way to Black Lotus, aka later on Angela Fong. Just great stuff.
Black
And
Lotus, you mean?
yeah, Black Lotus. Yeah, that's right. Started out as Angela Fong, I think, and yeah, then it became Black Lotus.
Well,
But
it was only ever Angela Fong because that's her real name, and that's all we knew to call her. But
right. So from Black Lotus, Sexy Star, Evil East, just all these women are getting written well, which makes me so excited. And I know you're excited too about cheerleader Melissa potentially for season 2.
Marty's sister, it's gonna be amazing.
Oh God, but yeah, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. But yeah, I just want to say I really love how they write their heroines or just their women in general. Really, so great stuff.
Absolutely. Up next, we had our 4th match of the night, main event. Pretty awesome that there are a few episodes in here with 4 matches instead of 3. I love it. And it's the Crew versus Sexy, Pimpy, and Mascarita. Pimpy gets hurt early. It becomes 3-on-2. Then Mascarita gets hurt, and it's 3-on-1 for Sexy Star. But Big Rick shows up at the top of the stairs, distracts the Crew, and allows Sexy Star to get the quick roll-up victory on bail. Because he's expendable, as we found out later in the season.
Yeah, we did. Oh my God. Yeah, it's a shame too because like you see the Crew early on, like after they take out Big Rick, and they really could have been a badass trio, and for a time they were, but that wasn't the long con for Lucha Underground.
I don't think they were ever a badass trio.
I just feel like they really whooped these guys though, because they choked Pimpy out with the cane, the kendo stick.
I know, but what I mean though is that, like, I don't think they were ever a badass trio in the sense that I feel like they were more badass before Bale showed up.
Right, I see what you're saying.
When it was the Crew, when it was Castro, Cisco and Big Rick.
Yeah.
That might have been a badass trio, but this not really.
Yeah, and Big Rick coming through, on his prime, he emerges. Because did we talk about already in episode 3? Because I thought it was in this batch of episodes about the vignette he had with the whole confessional at the church. Because that
Oh yeah, I feel like that happened earlier, didn't it? Yeah, that happened in episode 14 between the Mill I Need Nothing line and the Son of Havoc promo dedicating his match to Ivelisse.
we're just going over that very quickly. Like,
Oh, it
I
was
loved it.
amazing. I mean, it's funny that we skipped it. It's actually terrible that we skipped it because it was honestly like one of the like 2 or 3 most iconic moments of the season to me.
I know, and to associate Big Rick with iconic moment just shows you the brilliance of Lucha Underground and how they can create a character because
Dude, I
he was so
saw on
interesting.
Twitter somebody tweeted about how when he got his eye burned out, I guess that explains the spelling of his name because there's only one I in his name.
Ah,
Because
nice.
it's big RYCK rather than big
Yeah,
RICK.
that's funny.
I
That's one of the
love
funny.
that so much. And it works on 2 levels too because his real name, his real first name is spelled RYCKLON.
Right.
I don't know if it's Ricklon or Ryklon. I'm assuming it's Ryklon, but still, like, I just love that they used part of his real name, turned it into a recognizable actual name, Rick. I mean, people know people named Rick for the most part, and then kept the spelling of his real name because frickin' one eye.
Yeah.
I love that so much.
I even told you upon rewatching, and you and I were having like a conversation over it. I think this was the best vignette that Lucha Underground did all season. I know we still
Yeah,
have a bit more to go through, but damn, was this good!
it was
Like,
excellent.
yeah, this was art, was what that was. But just wanted to comment on that very quickly. Again, to your point, distracts the crew. Crew gets out of there though, and Big Rick just, he kind of smiles like,
Can we just
eh.
talk about the line that he had though?
Oh, at the end where he said like even God said vengeance will be mine,
Well,
or
I mean that's great, but I mean at the beginning when he's just like, "Forgive me, Father, for I'm about to sin. I'm going to destroy 3 Judases who betrayed me."
yeah, dude.
So good.
And then I love too how like they really do capture like it really does look like he's sitting in that confessional. You never see the priest or anything, but then you could see the flame from his cigar, like you could see it lit up and him
Yes.
puffing the smoke. Dude, like I said, this was art. This was
Yeah.
so brilliantly put together. I'm sad that we skipped over it, but I'm glad that we're getting to say what we're saying about it now because I think this was the height of Lucha Underground's vignette prowess, if you will. This was so freaking good.
Yeah. All right. Well, up next we had episode 16 because we already talked about the crew versus the 3 of Dario Cueto's least favorite people. um, so we start out episode 16 with Aerostar versus Drago again. This is their second match in, I believe, 3 weeks, or is it 4? It's 4. Their first match was episode 13. Their second match, episode 16. Apparently, Aerostar specifically requested this match, and he also ends up winning the match. And then he shakes Drago's hand, and he gives him the thumbs up and the seal of approval, and he raises his hand, and like it's like all celebratory and happy. And then cue Dario Cueto.
Who just kills the mood. And he's even
That's
like,
that's what he does, John. What more do you want from him?
I know. But he's just like, you two really seem to love each other, so you're going to be spending a lot more time together. And he says,
You each have 1 win, and I'm gonna make you fight each other until one of you gets 2 more.
exactly. And the winner of that will get one of my famous unique opportunities. So I'm
Hard
just like,
quotes too.
yeah, exactly. Exactly.
I love that even he acknowledges that his opportunities are shit.
What an asshole. But yeah, this was fun. I like the finish too, because again, like other finishes, Lucha Underground really seemed like they went out of their way to protect Drago because it took a sunset flip powerbomb on the outside and then that springboard splash from Aerostar. And then Cueto's just like, I can get even more violence out of these two, and then he makes that series. So, oh man, crazy stuff.
Absolutely. Up next, we had King Cuerno's Arrow from Hell. Gets the suicide dive there, gets some feature. It's like a really, really cool, well done slow mo cinematic. I loved this.
And dude, it's crazy that I just got done saying in our preceding segment, going over the prior episode, that Big Rick's confessional was the best vignette of the season, and I stand by that. Don't get me wrong, but
Right.
I'll be damned if this one doesn't give it a run for its money because I forgot about this one. But seeing it again, I love how they turn the suicide dive into just like this
A
really
weapon.
intense, almost intimate kind of moment. Yeah, a weapon. Just really cool what they did with it. Just the breakdown of the move and everything. And then when he soars, it's like Cuerno Mundo tonight. And I'm like, oh, God, life is so real. I love Lucha Underground so much. Netflix needs Lucha, people. Netflix needs Lucha. So, great stuff.
They might not be just getting a Netflix deal either. From what I understand, they might be getting something else as well.
Give them all the deals.
Give them all the deals.
Exactly. Lucha Underground running on a loop, every channel 444 live.
Amazon Prime, Yahoo, Hulu, Netflix, you name it, give it to them.
Exactly. Do it.
Put them on Spike for all I care. Spike doesn't have a wrestling program anymore. Ha!
Yeah, way to suck eggs, Spike.
Well, I
Anyway.
thought you would say TNA.
Well, yeah, that too. I mean, ew. Ew.
Yeah.
I feel like you just kind of more than, put the turn in the punch bowl there. TNA in the same breath as Lucha Underground. Ew.
Pointing out that TNA was awful, which is why they don't have a deal with Spike anymore, and that Lucha Underground would be way better as a substitute.
Well, Lucha Underground could certainly beat Cops reruns, which TNA couldn't even say by the end of their run of that company. Oh man!
I just at this point, I just want Lucha to take over the world. I mean, if it starts with Netflix, that's great, but we all know they're going to be on the USA Network from 9 to 11 eventually on Monday nights.
I mean, I for one welcome our new masked overlords. So whenever you want to just get here and show up, that'd be great.
I mean. Obviously, WWE's on the USA Network. I don't know. Maybe we can get Lucha Underground on like the Turner Broadcasting Network or something.
There you go. Let's do this all over again. But with
except this time, the other guys won't lose.
Exactly. Oh man. So what came after this, brother?
Except this time, the other guys are actually WWE, and they will lose.
Yeah.
So up next, we had the match of the night, and probably the best match of the season so far, Cage versus Prince Puma.
Man, was this good.
Oh my god. Dude, my favorite moment in this match, and it's so random, I just loved it so much. My favorite moment in this match, Puma hit a big kick on Cage, and it stunned Cage, but Cage just like pumped up and he screamed like, ah! And then he went in for a lariat, and Puma cracked him over the back of the head with like a sidewinder kick, and it knocked him out. And I just like, oh my god, like this was the first moment of the season that I went from, oh yeah, this Prince Puma guy's a real talent, to, oh my god, he's a badass.
Yeah. Cage is just like hulking up, thinking he's gonna power through, and then Puma's like, I said stay down. And
yeah, that's pretty much what it was.
Bitch. Oh my god, yeah, what a hard ass, but I say that in the best possible way, because he will not be disrespected. Yeah, dude, I love the back and forth, and I think what I enjoy too, and again, this is where my appreciation of commentary comes in, especially on the second viewing. They kind of built on the whole machine thing for Cage, because Stryker's like, oh, look at him, he's learning. Before he would just expend all this energy needlessly, but he's letting the energy build, because there was a point in this match he was just beating on Puma, but he let him get up in the corner. But then I feel like that kind of got thrown out the window towards the end, because I mean, Cage just brutalizes Puma, he gets Weapon X, and I'm thinking, oh, you go for the cover, right? But no, Cage, no wonder he's Dario Cueto's favorite, because he's all about that violence, gets in the mount punch position, he's just heading Puma back and forth, and then Conan, who had reemerged earlier, he throws in the towel.
You know why Conan reemerged, though, John? Do you remember?
Because Puma was screwed and he was getting dominated by Cage?
Because Cage had him in a stretch muffler, and Conan came out to try and cheer Puma on, and it helped. It got Puma to the ropes.
Yeah, well, I mean, commentary, again, I'm praising commentary all over the place, but they even said, like, even Vampiro, which you could tell for him, it was like swallowing glass. It was just like, I hate to give him credit, but, Puma seems lost out there without Conan, and then the moment Conan comes out, Puma really does rally. So yeah. I just loved everything about that. That was great. That was like some next level stuff right there. So
I love it, man. I didn't want to like Conan, but this second viewing has given me an entire new perspective on how good he's been.
Well, right though, especially considering the revelations are made, you almost have to come away feeling a bit different about everything. Like, oh, maybe you're not the asshole here.
Maybe it was Vampiro's Sith Lord ass.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh man, just crazy to think about, dude.
We got brainwashed, man.
I don't know if I like that or not. I don't know if I'm down.
I definitely don't.
Yeah, there you go. Oh man. So, what came after this, man?
after the Puma cage match was Sexy Star in Cueto's office telling him about how she's sick of men trying to save her and she has a problem with the crew and she was hoping for a match with the crew, but Cueto was just like, yeah, you want the crew. How about Big Rick instead? And she was confused. She was like, I don't want a partner. And he was just like, no, 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 no. As an opponent.
And he smiles about it too. He has the best shit-eating grin in professional wrestling.
You think
But
so? You think better than
think
Rollins?
I think even better than Rollins has got the cackle, right? I mean, that's his thing. But Cueto is just like, yeah, that's right. I booked you in, inconceivable odds. Insurmountable is the word I was looking for. Insurmountable odds. Deal with it. And then it just goes back to sipping his drink. But here's the thing, right? And again, I don't want to, because I know you were like, I don't want to play spoiler earlier when you talked about, what's coming on later in the season that we're going to talk about. We know how this match between Sexy Star and Big Rick goes. And it's not that I disagree with it. Big Rick, I think, had priority with his story because, I mean, for God's sakes, his eye got burned out. But I like Sexy Star here saying, I don't want men to save me. I don't want this and that. And then she gets in the ring with Big Rick. And for obvious reasons, it's pretty much kind of a joke to Big Rick. He kind of powers her down at the end. And, I'm thinking, well, that kind of sucks for Sexy because you have this really interesting female character who says she doesn't need a man and she's strong and she's independent. Now she may finally be able to show it, though, with Marty the Moth. Maybe. Because, we don't know where she is or what she's doing, but she may have to fight for herself, and I really do like that. I like that she's just coming out, exuding this independence, and hopefully now it's really taken seriously. That's kind of what I'm crossing my fingers for. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. All right, so now we get to our third match of the night. Pentagon Jr. versus Vinny Massaro. I only have one line of notes for this, and that's just dominance.
Oh, poor Vinny, man. Even during entrances, you could hear the crowd booing, and he's like, I don't need you. It's just like thinking, like, I'm going to have this debut, and it's going to be awesome. Yeah, it really was, just not in the way you'd expect. Because Pentagon just destroys Massaro here. Actually gets to show off his strength, because what do they call that move that he did, Ashton? Because I know he used to do it, like, mid-match, but this is actually the ending blow here.
Are we talking about the package pile driver?
Not the package pile. Well, it wasn't like a pile driver. It was like a flipping powerbomb of sorts or something. You know what I'm talking about? Where he kind of like has the head cradled, and he even did like the zero fear pose. That's how like he had him in like a half Nelson, zero fear, and then flips him over on his head. It was some kind of driver, and he gets the pin. Yeah,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, it wasn't a package pile driver, but it was really impressive given Vinny Massaro's size. A crowd, of course, is going nuts because Vinny just got destroyed. Pentagon goes to the outside, gets the table, sets that up, sets Vinny on the top rope. He power bombs him through the table. Now, for anybody else, they'd be proud of that work and think, man, what a beatdown. I whooped that ass. But not Pentagon. Pentagon's like, the violence is only at 95%, and when I do it 100. And then he grabs the arm, and he breaks Vinny Massaro's arm. If I was Vinny Massaro and I was a new guy trying to break into the business and this was my night, I'd be like, yeah, I'm gonna go back into accounting. I'm done. I got a good taste of it. I'm out.
Yeah,
this was awesome.
Getting beat down from Pentagon Jr. is not exactly a great way to start out your Lucha Underground career, is it?
Oh no, certainly not. Oh man.
Yeah. Well, that's brutal.
And he had Melissa Santos say in the beginning that this match is dedicated to his master, so we're keeping that consistent. And yeah, Pentagon Jr. just makes quick work of Vinny here, and nothing more to say than that.
Poor Vinny.
Yeah, poor Vinny indeed.
He could have been a champion.
I could have been a contender if it wasn't for my neck and my arm and everything hurts.
That's like that wrestling isn't wrestling video when Shawn Michaels gets destroyed by Stone Cold Steve Austin. It's just like, my neck hurt and my back hurt. It's just... Oh, man. So now, up next, though, we had our fourth match of the night, our main event of the night, because, of course, Johnny Mundo always puts on 5-star main events, but this time it's versus King Cuerno.
Yeah, and great stuff between these two guys. I love the psychology here from Cuerno, picking apart the leg of Mundo. Mundo, of course, still being babyface at the time that makes his comebacks. mean something a bit more. I love to, in line with the Hunter gimmick, because this is their first time in the ring together. It didn't mean that Cuerno didn't have Mundo scouted, because there was a point here where Mundo was going to do his, because when he's a babyface, his combination goes clothesline, clothesline, calf kick, and he's going for the calf kick, and Cuerno catches him, though, and he drives him with a backbreaker. It's the little things, dude, and considering that he has that Hunter gimmick, I just thought that was so perfect. Of course, he also has that sequence, this Cuerno, where Mundo's trying to recover, shake the leg out. He's by the announce table, and Cuerno does the suicide dive, through, like, the ring post, it looked like, to Mundo, sending his back into the announce table. Then it kind of spills over on the outside later on. They both get counted out, and then that's when their epic brawl kind of ensues.
Yeah, they were brawling for a while.
Yeah, they went all over the place. You had fans, like, crowding Vampiro to watch on his monitor. They're going up, and then, finally, like, Mundo, I think, just kind of slammed Cuerno, because Cuerno was charging at Mundo, but Mundo caught him and slammed him in the steel fencing. And that's pretty much how that goes down. So both guys are laid out, and that's how the episode closes. So this was really well done. I love the intensity between these two guys. I remember I was so pumped after watching this segment the first time, went into our Twitwell review. I pleaded with the powers of Lucha Underground to have a false count anywhere match between these two guys. But what we got, I'm sure a lot would argue, and I would certainly be among them, was probably even better than if they were just able to go all over the place. So really cool stuff.
They did the opposite. They made them not be able to go anywhere without winning the match.
Yeah, and I love that too. I love that irony. It's like they're having this big brawl where they go everywhere. So how are we going to settle it? We're going to have
contain
them as
them
contained
in
as
a
possible.
cell.
Exactly. Crazy.
I love it.
Anything else you want to say about this, brother?
The Cueto family knows all about cells, John.
Yeah, they do.
Get it?
Yeah, they do.
Matanza is in one.
Yeah. That was pretty good on your part. After this, though, we got that closing segment, that closing cinematic of a car driving, and of course we know that Black Lotus is in the trunk. So yeah, nice tease there.
Very nice.
Anything else you want to say, man? Because that was pretty much my thoughts on the main event and that concluding segment there.
I know, dude. I loved Lucha Underground. I love these 4 episodes. I love all the tiny little hints that they drop on commentary, man. Like back in episode 1, we got the all night long hint, and then during these 4 episodes, we got the Angelico ascending to greater heights tease, and Vampiro just constantly taking an interest in Pentagon Jr. and it seems innocent at first because he kind of has a little bit of an interest in everyone, but then you realize that he's a little bit more interested in Pentagon than anyone else, and just kind of, oh man, like it's like I'm learning what to pay attention to for season 2.
I mean, yeah, the first Drago versus Aerostar matchup, when that match ended, Matt Striker said, I could see these guys go at it again and again.
Yeah.
So many hints. And it makes you realize now, again, and I said this on Lucha Underground Rewatch 3, so I won't go all into it again, but it really does make you realize that in Lucha Underground's eyes, commentary, they're the storytellers. They're letting you know what to pay attention to, what paths to go down. So I think for season 2, my ears are going to be especially pricked up whenever commentary is speaking. During a match, post-match, whatever. I'm going to hang on every word because it just shows you how much they revealed throughout this season. So,
absolutely. That's exactly my thing too, because commentary is a lost art, man.
It is, man.
It really is. It's sad because, man, half the reason we stopped reviewing Raws this autumn, and obviously we'll get back to it during the road to WrestleMania in 2016, but half the reason we stopped for fall was because of freaking commentary. It's just awful.
It is, and I hate being so hard on the guys because it's like I even said, I think on Lucha Underground Rewatch episode 3, because WWE is this conglomerate, commentary in itself can't be contained within this one function. I think commentary in WWE, if you were to ask me their function, I'd say it's advertising. It's perpetual on-air advertising. Lucha Underground doesn't have to have that worry, and that is one thing I'm curious about because I have the confidence that Patron does. I believe that Lucha Underground can grow. But when they grow, I wonder how many things could fundamentally transform, both in a good way and potentially in a way that maybe makes you more cautious. I'll never use the word bad with Lucha Underground, not after this season. They've earned my trust completely. But there will probably be reasons for caution as they grow. It's only natural. I'll be curious how they navigate it, though, and I hope they keep the purity of commentary as they have it right now because it's so good.
You know
It
what, though,
is so
John? Here's my thing. When it
yeah,
comes to WWE, I don't hate their commentary because they shill the network and that kind of stuff. Like I
right,
completely understand. Like shit, man, we do that. We talk about Point
right.
Off and going to the subreddit and that kind of stuff after every episode of TwitWow. So it's not even like I don't have any kind of problem with that. What I have a problem with is when there's actually something going on. Like there's something going on in the ring and they're talking about what they had for freaking supper last night.
Yeah, yeah, I'll agree there. There really should be no excuse for that. Um, I mean, hell, even when you could argue that maybe Matt Stryker and Vampiro went astray. Like I know the most upset you got with Stryker, outside of the sexism and everything, was when he was doing the whole Bible verses with Big Rick. But even that, I think, had like a loose connection to what Big Rick would be about later on with the eye patch and the vengeance. So I'm like, okay. So even Matt Stryker at his worst, I still think is so much more comparable, so much more preferable to what we get on WWE commentary on a regular basis.
Yeah.
It's awful. Like, I'll be honest with you, dude. I watch Raw mainly because I don't get cable, and that's just how I have to do things. I watch Raw on mute because I prefer to talk to you when we have something to say about a particular match and segment than hearing what commentary has to say about it. That's how
Yeah.
bad it's gotten for me. Whereas with Lucha Underground, I feel like you and I don't really talk much until like the show's over or during a commercial because we're always just so sucked in and we're always just trying
Yep.
to pay attention. It just shows you the difference in quality all the way around.
Yeah. And that's another thing too with Raw is sure you can watch it on mute, but I think that there should be an option. And I've even talked to you about this before, not quite to this extent, but I think if they would offer some kind of an option where you could watch Raw with all the sounds and just have commentary muted, you and I think, would jump on that and offer. We would do live reactions to every Raw and offer that as like an alternative to commentary.
Oh, certainly. Certainly. It's just commentary right now is just so draining.
It
Oh my
is.
God. But yeah, that just shows you that Lucha Underground is just leaps and bounds ahead of everybody else. So guys, again, I'm not gonna make the impassioned plea that I did in episode 3 because, I don't really think it needs to be said. But seriously, whatever you can do to let people know that you're in this, that you want more of Lucha Underground anywhere, let it be known. Because even if they do have a lot of deals on the table, they only have those deals because people have put feelers out and they know people want this. So keep letting
Yep,
them know you want it.
that's right.
So that's all I got to say about that.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that being said, we're going to close things out here. Another episode in the books, another hour and 20 minutes of our lives down the drain, and man, we really need to figure out a way to get these things shortened up.
Yeah,
We basically spend 20 minutes talking about each 45-minute episode, so I don't know. Maybe we can cut it down to like 15 minutes a piece and maybe get it under an hour next week. I don't know.
maybe. I mean, but Lucha Underground's just so good, and no wonder it always goes on like this. But
Yeah, well, that's funny because this is actually the third week in a row that I've said that. Like,
yeah,
it seems like every episode I've been like, man, that went for really long. Let's try and cut it down next week, and then the next week happens and we don't because it's just so
exactly.
good. Yeah. All right. So that being said, guys, hashtag Netflix needs Lucha. Contact Netflix if you can. Let them know that if they were offering Lucha, that you would be getting a subscription. It's cheaper than WWE Network. It's only $7.99 for Netflix a month for the live streaming service, so that's a thing. Hopefully, Lucha gets Netflix and so much more as far as funding goes. I know some people have talked about crowdfunding. I've mentioned crowdfunding before too, but the whole issue with crowdfunding is that it's not really a sustainable business model. It's a one-time thing, and then what do we do for season 3? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
So the Netflix thing and whatever else they're doing over there has got me excited. So we'll see you guys for next week where we'll be watching episodes 17 through 20.